Okay, all right, so this is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Business and Economic Development Committee meeting, and I'm filling in for the committee chair, Haas, and we have present committee members Carolyn Fish, Joseph Leonard, myself, and Dan Trumbull, and then we also have Councillor Portier, Councillor Yakubada present, and we'll start with Anne Krieg.
Great. Well, thank you. The first item on the agenda is a request for support to commence work with a bike share company. Justin Folger of Tandem Mobility has been working with at a staff level thus far. They're requesting to work with local groups, businesses, as well as us as the city to locate a bike share system. And the system that he's trying to create is to not just connect Bangor within itself, but also to connect Bangor to Brewer, to up to Orono, and then over to Old Town. So it's sort of this regional system of bike share. And we've met at a staff level about it to talk a little bit about details. We'll continue to do that in terms of location, which parks of downtown. We'll work with the downtown Bangor partnership to come up with, good locations in the downtown area. And again, as I said, as well as parks. But in order for them to move forward, to start talking to the business community for sponsorships, they had asked for a memorandum of understanding. The legal department does have some changes to it, so we will have a little bit of change to the memorandum of understanding this week. So we'll have it finalized this week. So if the committee is amenable, I would love to get your recommendation to move this forward. It'll have to go to full council as a council order next week.
Just a question, a comment. Where is his group? Where are they out of? Yeah,
He is based, I believe, out of Michigan, and so they're a national company. They actually are the same company that are down in Portland, so this is their second main location, and the Portland location's been going well.
so with the sponsorships, once it's set up, is there a fee to use the bike as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's the sponsorship cover?
The sponsorship
bikes
covers
themselves?
the initial purchase of the bikes, and then, the bikes will be decorated and whatever their sponsor.
So my comment is, I think this is one of the best items I've seen on the agenda in a while. Every time I travel any place, why don't we have this in Bangor?
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be great. I think it's a great thing. And I think, see the city engineers here, so I'll advocate again for not just more bike. I know we added some bike paths on State Street last year, but I was just in Southern Maine last week in a couple of towns where they didn't specifically have bike paths, but they had the bike painted on the regulars, just to make people more aware, make people more comfortable, and we'd be aware that there's gonna be bicycles on the road. So the more I think we can do on the roads to make people cognizant that there's gonna be bicycles around, I'd be supportive of.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
I think what the sponsorship does is, because I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, oh, it's just like City Bike, which is, of course, that's what sponsorship does, is it puts your
Right.
brand name at the front of the word bike.
Yeah.
So I think it's great, especially, since our buses have the bike racks on them. It'd be a great way to maybe help people hit that last mile, and we hope to see some on the college campuses around town. I think it would be a great
Yes,
location,
Hudson might be a location, yeah, definitely.
or net general area.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I'm just excited about this because we have been hearing about people into accidents who are biking. So I hope this is going to create more safety areas for bikers who rely on their bikes for, transportation. So I'm excited to see this happening. Good.
Great.
Would entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second,
All right, seeing no doubts.
All right.
Fourth.
Go for the bicycle.
Yeah. So next one is request for support for tourism marketing from the Greater Bangor Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, Deb Newman is here from the Bangor Chamber, and just to give a little preface to it, we've been meeting together with trying to come up with different ways of how can we adequately provide convention and tourist services to people now that the Convention and Tourist Board is no longer. So there are things that we can do at the city level. I love tourism services, it's fun. But there's a limit to what we can do as a city with those services. So we've been meeting with a lot of different partners. So we've been specifically meeting with the chamber about coming up with a mechanism for helping them to, provide the service.
Thank
Do you
you.
want to go
Yeah,
over?
I invite Shelley.
Absolutely. Shelley, come on up.
Shelley Stein, our Director of Marketing and Events. I asked Shelley to join us because this is very much her lane. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. This is in my 8 years as president of the chamber. I've never been before this committee or the council. So this is new for me.
Shame on you, Deb.
Right. I know most of you. So I guess I'll provide a little background, and Ann queued it up really well, and I'm really, we are very grateful to Ann. We've been working very closely together. As you know, the Convention Visitors Bureau, you may not know, dissolved a few years ago. And so the chamber is really transitioning, not changing our focus or our mission necessarily, but enhancing our tourism efforts. The chamber has always been engaged in tourism efforts to a great extent. We're the place people call when they want to know where to see a moose. We're the place people call when I'm coming up in a week and I'm looking for places to stay. Where should I eat? Where can I bring my dog? We get calls every day. We have a visitor center. People will just pop in and pick up information. We also field a lot of calls from people interested in relocation to this area, which is really exciting. And as a side note, last summer, because it was so hot in Texas, we probably had a call from at least somebody from Texas once a week saying, I've got to get out of here. So I think we're really going to see a northern migration because of the changing climate. So we have been meeting with other stakeholders in tourism, including hospitality businesses, kind of looking at doing an assessment of what is the need in the region to promote the region to visitors, and determine what are we already doing and what can we continue doing with our current capacity, and what are the areas where we need additional capacity. So a couple of things that we're doing, and Shelley, please chime in if I miss anything. Number one is responding to requests from visitors and others. Number two, we have our visitor center with information. Third thing we're doing this year is historically the chamber produces an annual, we call it a membership guide magazine, and it's really focused on our members, but it's also focused on the region. This year we're changing it up, so this is going to be the visitor's guide for this region. Can I say what we're calling it? Why don't you say it?
That's what I'm here for. So we're gonna call it Destination Bangor, Maine, and I'm sorry if we put that earworm in your ear, but that's what we're calling it. So,
Yes, Destination Bangor, Maine for the region.
Yeah,
And it's going to contain a lot of information about our communities, and then a lot of information certainly for people who currently live here, people thinking about relocating here, and people wanting to visit the region. We're very excited about that. We're currently selling ad space right now. If anybody's interested, sidebar plug. But it's going to be great. This will be distributed. We're doing more than 20,000 copies. This will be distributed through the Maine Office of Tourism, through Visit Maine, all the information centers.
AAA offices.
Yeah.
Mailing packets.
Yeah.
Events, yeah.
Yeah, and I just came back from joining the Maine Office of Tourism at a travel show in DC, where we spent 2 days just talking to people about Maine. This is the publication that will be there,
Yeah.
all these shows. So we're looking forward to that. That's coming out this spring. So we're phasing in, taking on a stronger role in tourism. The piece that we're asking for support for right now is the social media piece. That is just something that we just don't have the capacity in-house or the time to be on top of it. And we recognize that there's a huge need for a strong and consistent social media presence to really promote what's happening in this region. So Ann's been great. We've had several meetings about this to talk about what would make sense and what would serve your needs and our needs and make a request. So we're requesting 4,000 a month focused on social media. We will outsource this work. So we will, once this funding is approved, we will put together an RFP and contract with somebody who really knows what they're doing. We know a little bit, but enough to be, just not enough.
We need feet on the street. We need people out there doing it, so.
Yeah, we need somebody out there, certainly sharing existing content, but creating new content. So we need somebody who's expert at that, who can work with us. So we will look for that person or that company to support that. And then the other piece we're finding, and Shirley can speak to this more, is we need to expand our images, our photography, our collateral in that. We've been looking, I know the city has some and I think Betsy has some, so we're trying to gather images that we can use in social, but also in the magazine that's coming out. So we're likely going to need to hire a photographer to go and get us some more images. Right now, Shelley's doing a full assessment of what we have and where we can get it and what we need. So it's likely that we'll use those funds to help support that. Then our next phase is to take this process and all of this information, and we're going to change up the Bangor Region website to make it more of a visitor information site. So incorporate those images into that site. So it's all tied together. As we get through this phase, then we'll be considering adding to our staff to have somebody on staff full time to focus on the tourism piece. That's going to be, that will require additional funding to support that. So that's what we're looking at in the next phase of this. But for now, we really want to ramp up that social media in time for the busy season.
Councilor Gribble?
I've never been involved in a social media campaign of that size. And that just jumped out. It seemed kind of high. Is that what, I mean, have you done things like this or looked at other groups have done it? That seems.
Yeah, the chambers I've talked to that have done this, it's roughly around, I'm finding like 15 to 2,500 in there for that, to hire somebody who really knows how to do this.
But that includes the video,
They produce
But
everything.
a few years ago, I think might have been before you were here, and didn't we get some video?
Yeah, we did.
Done?
Right when I first started working here,
Right.
there was some video done.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
can share that with them.
Right.
They get stills from that. And the only thing I think it's great, I'm in full support of it. I mean, we used to make an annual contribution to the CVB. But my only comment is, as you grow it and get a position, I would think that maybe at some point you go back to a funding model where the hotels and restaurants might contribute specifically to a CVB type of fund at the chamber. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Leonard?
Yeah, to go on Dan's point of what he brought up, I'm actually completely in favor with the going forward with this. In order to initially get this started up for a social media campaign, this is about roughly what you're looking for, especially for something to like do a startup. What I would like to see at some point is, and you addressed this earlier, which is to make this more of an internal model at some point in the future, just because outsourcing social media for a long period of time, they're not really going to get what's what I'm looking for, like some of the locality, like the inside jokes that we have and stuff, like the things that really make us seem more human and more of our personality. An outside company might not see that as much. Fortunately, we're having a lot of migration of work from home related jobs coming to the area here. So there will be some clientele that are probably in that area that you can look at to hire at some point. So, and I don't want to speak for the entire council, but I would certainly be interested in assisting the chamber into building that social media department to help the city grow. But of course, that's a conversation for another day.
Thank you.
Councilor Fish?
I wondered, I know hard copy print's very expensive and 20,000 is not a lot, but with the changing hard copy media and the demand for it, I wondered how many of the 20,000 copies are actually requested to be mailed or are picked up at the distribution centers, and how much are left over. And in relation to that, again, putting those monies maybe into an app, every city we go to now, you get on the app and you can find out what's going on and it's easy to get access to activities as well as restaurants and hotels and all of that. So I wondered, do we have a comparison to how an app might help either support that or replace some of that?
So right now existing, when you say the hard copy, we do have it online. You can see it online, but what you're saying, we don't have that in an app form. That would fall into the next phase of our website that would be app friendly. I think that's a great idea, and I think that's what we'll need to do in the future.
I will say that, I'm glad you brought that up because
Yes.
it's an ongoing conversation, is print dead? Do people still pick up travel guides? And I have to tell you, this was the first travel show I've attended, and I was able to go with the Maine Office of Tourism at the main booth. This was in DC. It was a massive convention center, and there were groups from all international. It was, I mean, I put 9 miles on my feet one day. It was crazy. The print, people want print. They want to pick up a magazine, and everything we had was gone in 2 days, including the city sent us with a few mugs and puppy.
Yeah, the dog bandanas.
Yeah, so we have Bangor everywhere. Bangor's everywhere now. It's all over the world. Everything was gone, but the Maine Office of Tourism publishes Maine Invites You, which is a wonderful publication, and we will be part of that. We have been part of that. But I looked at all of these guides and I was like, I cannot wait for Bangor to have our own really well done visitors guide. Portland had one, mid-coast, all over the state, and they were just gone. Yeah, so there will be, and we'll probably be back to talk to you about this down the road, but what we're learning, and Ann and I have met to talk about these travel shows. There are probably 6, usually in the first quarter of the year, first half of the year. The Maine Office of Tourism attends, and we're gonna look at least going to 3 of those. So DC was one. DC was great because we have a direct flight to DC, and so many people want to come here. New York, we talked about, possibly Atlanta, and then Canada, the Montreal market, Toronto market. And then we were also talking about shows for travel planners. By the way, there were a lot of travel planners who came by the booth, which was great, but they all take these publications and look through them. So I think we still need the print, but we can enhance it with other things. It's interesting. And the other thing that we're finding, which is fascinating, is I've been involved with the chamber since I was in my 20s and on the board when we used to be located where Paul Bunyan is. Remember those days? And we had a visitor center that was so huge. We had people staffing it. That's all they did. That was at a time when people would come to a community, they'd go and find the chamber because that's how you got your travel information. That has all changed, how we travel and how we get information. But it's surprising to me, and it's nice how many people will come in with their phones, but they still want to come into the chamber. They still want to talk to people.
And they want a downtown map.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we give out
We give
Betsy's
a lot of
map like
that,
candy,
Betsy's
but
map.
they want to know about downtown
Yeah.
and where to go. So
great.
Yeah.
Marcia, that's her conversation all the time.
Oh
It's
my gosh.
downtown.
And-
And we draw lines to Stephen King's house, which is not easy, by the way.
I went into it just walking through downtown. I saw this couple one time, they were looking at their phone and they're looking around. So I'm like,
Yeah.
can I help you? And they were actually looking for the visitor center, and I happened to know it was in the chamber, but it really wasn't well marked.
Yeah.
And
For
that-
someone who doesn't know that
Mhm.
that's where it is. So
Yeah.
I'm like, it says it's a bank, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going here.
We're working on that for this spring.
Yeah.
We're gonna have better signage
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
our building's been under construction for a while.
But they were really looking for,
Yeah.
they were not, like, they were looking at their phones to try to find someone to talk to.
Yeah.
To get some
Yeah,
ideas,
they
like,
really want to
And
talk.
that's gonna be part of our messaging too. We've
then-
actually gotten in our car before and not driven people to Stephen King, but they follow us
Oh,
there. So we're providing that service
We
too
do.
right down.
Crazy.
Build a Yellow Brick Road.
Exactly.
Counselor Fournier.
So, sorry.
2 questions. One, the person you're looking to hire down the road, would that take over the social media aspect? or-
Probably, and again, I'll probably be back to you to request, we'd like to talk about going forward, you know, looking at some funding as the council funded, the city helped to fund the CVB. That would be great. But yeah, you know, I've already kind of crafted a job description and that would be part of it. Perhaps, but maybe we still need somebody to help with the social. We're working on it. We do a lot. You know, it's really looking at you, I'm sure you all know what this is like, looking at our current capacity, and we have a lot of talent on staff. But a lot of it's just about the time. And I think to your point, we're hoping that we can find somebody who's local to the area, who knows the area, and we would be working with them. We wouldn't just send them off. I mean, part of this would, you know, help to support the work we would do to engage with them.
It'd be a local, outside but inside.
Yeah.
So.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. The second question is more for staff. How much, can't remember, how much did we give CVB? Is it
I think it
52?
was 64.
It was $60,000.
60?
$10,000 came out of the downtown tip for the efforts, and 50,000 came out of the general fund budget.
Okay.
And the current
48.
adopted budget has $50,000 in it for
Yeah.
tourism related.
Yeah,
And is that where this
That would be my
request-
recommendation, yes.
Okay.
so that makes perfect sense.
Councilor Clement?
Sounds like Rick might want to come out of retirement for that job, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Just trivia, and then I've got a motion. My trivia is, because I like to point out, between Bangor and Orono, we have three of the largest venues in the state of Maine for convention and entertainment. So we've got the top three in the state of Maine in this region. My motion, I would move to support the request.
Second.
All right, the motion second. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, so moved. That has passage. The next is an update from the Downtown Bangor Partnership.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Shelley. So I'll, while you're settling in, I'll just go over the assessment district.
Yeah,
Okay. So, the assessment district public hearing for the expansion of the district is set for the council meeting on March 11th. Just to remind, councilors of that project is we started out a few years, at least a few years ago, more like 5 years ago, of trying to align a lot of the different downtown district lines. It can be very confusing for people what their district they're in, if they're in the TIF, not in the TIF, and the assessment, not in the assessment. So what we've attempted to do with the assessment district is to bring in all of those lots to try to have some kind of cohesion. We had a public workshop where we notified all the affected property owners on the 20th of February. We had some clarifying questions from people that came. We had a decent turnout, and so we're gonna move forward with that district change. And then in terms of the budget timeline, that's separate from the March 11th hearing, is just the district itself. But then we'll go into the budget timeline. There's two budgets. There's the TIF, which is part of your capital fund, and then there's the assessment district, which is what we work on with the Downtown Bangor Partnership. So I don't know if you want to take it from there to talk about the joint needs assessment and.
Yeah, so I want to say about a year ago, we wrapped up the joint needs assessment that was completed between city staff and the Downtown Bangor Partnership to identify the needs of downtown. And I know that city staff has worked really hard to tick off a lot of the things on the list. And there was an update in here from city staff that shows you the various developments that had happened, and there were a lot. And then we, I think you got updated materials where we had added in our contributions on the right-hand side, showing the things that the Downtown Bangor Partnership had addressed in relationship to the joint needs assessment. And then we kind of summarized it a little bit. We wanted to make it really easy, one sheet for you all to see that kind of highlighted the key the key implemented solutions that the city had provided, and then also highlighted what we saw as the most critical outstanding issues for downtown Bangor. And going into this whole process, we have always advocated to hire Street Plus, which is a urban place management company that's in over 100 communities and has been operating for more than 30 years. So they have a lot of experience dealing with urban environments. And they have a kind of a wheel of services that can go, that it's kind of a la carte. And I think when we very first started this process about almost 5 years ago, we were looking at them, their social services, but then, the city came through with, the BCAT solution. So then it was like, okay, so like, there's already this. So like, then what becomes the next priority? And safety and cleanliness has really been the top priorities for the downtown in terms of unmet needs over the last few years. Places that we really feel that we need to see some improvement and that we would love to, have the city consider funding Street Plus as an option for a company that can roll out quickly and with great experience in dealing with these issues. Just to kind of provide a little anecdotal story, I walked into my office today, with my whole list of things to do, and I probably spent 3 hours talking to incredibly frustrated business owners about the sense of degraded safety in downtown right now. One of them was in tears crying, saying she's ready to close up shop and move out, that her employees are harassed and they feel unsafe, that they have people coming in and stealing hundreds upon hundreds of dollars of items from the store. And, the police department has so many priorities, they're not necessarily able to get there in time to confront people. And so sometimes this one particular person was telling me that these folks came back 4 different times and stole things, and every single time they would call the police and let them know, and the police were not able to get there. And then finally, the last time, this 18-year-old girl who was working in the store by herself had to try to occupy them by asking them questions and providing them information and just kind of engage them. And she was terrified, really. And she slipped a note to another customer in the store that said, "Please don't leave me here alone. I've called the police. Will you please wait until they come?" And they're having trouble holding on to employees because their employees feel threatened. So ultimately, I think downtown is a really great, wonderful place, but I think this issue is really kind of a big challenge for downtown residents, business owners, visitors, and we're investing a ton into tourism. The chamber we got a tourism, arts and culture grant that we're using to market arts and culture in the city of Bangor. We really want to bring people down here. And the question is, what is their impression going to be when they get here? Are the businesses going to be able to stay open in this current climate? So moving into the budgeting season, we wanted to have an opportunity to just kind of show you where we were at in terms of the needs assessment and where we would like to see us arrive in terms of the needs assessment, so that when you get our budget and you see the line item in there, everybody feels a little bit more educated and has a little bit more background about what that item is. Eric, I don't know if you want to add anything. Eric?
Sure. My name is Eric Meehan. I'm the president of the board of the Downtown Bangor Partnership. I'm also the owner of the Bangor Wine and Cheese Company. There's so much I could add, right? We've been coming here for years talking about this, and you all drive through the same town I do. I'm sure you all do business in the same town. I know you do, all of you. I had a similar conversation today with someone who's thinking about moving out. They were thinking about investing in Bangor, and now they're not. I've invested in Bangor. My kids are here, and you all know this. I don't want to suggest for a second that the city of Bangor is not capable of dealing with problems. However, we are confronted with a problem that is not just nationwide, it is international. We have an opportunity to deal with it. And once again, we are asking for you to please just say yes to it. And as we are about to hopefully add to our footprint, we are telling these folks that we're about to add, we're going to help you. We're going to make this a more inviting environment for people like people who just spoke to invite people to. So I'm very passionate. That's why my voice gets very deep and slow. But I would just, that's all I have to say is, you know, this is something we put so much time into and we truly believe in it. And we truly believe in it as property owners, as business owners, as people who live here, work here, try to play here. That's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
Councilor Dean and then Councilor Larry.
I had a question regarding the Street Plus. Did this actually come to council last year? And I don't know who to address this question to. And was it voted down or has this?
It was voted down, yeah.
Okay. So it's been to council once?
So it went to council earlier during the American Rescue Plan Act process. And it was voted down, with a minority of councilors, supporting it and majority of councilors opposing it. It was talked about, in prior years since before I got on council as well, but, it never made it, past a, initial review process. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Betsy.
It's been submitted as a budget, excuse me, as a budget item. Sure. Like right when I need to talk. It's been submitted as a budget item a number of times. And then we always end up just having to rework our budget without it in there because the funding hasn't been approved.
So it's mostly a budgetary concern, financial. It's not that it's been voted down for any other reason.
No, I can say that. I'm one who has not supported this just because it is an expense and and even in the proposal that we got, Street Plus said, we cannot provide the amount of services you're asking for with this budgeted amount, but this is what we could maybe do. And so it has never added up to me as how we're going to find somebody who is an expert in human services, who also will clean up human waste, who will also shovel snow for minimum wage. And it's never made sense to me.
It's not minimum wage. They pay more than minimum wage. They provide benefits, retirement packages.
Yeah, I literally have saved the booklet because, for this reason, because it never made, and I'm only speaking for myself, but I'm one who has voted against it because it has not made sense to me how we would find these unicorn employees who would solve all of the city's ills for $16, $17 an hour, slightly more than minimum wage. And that's what it was in the booklet. So that's one of the reasons why I have not supported it. And if there's a new proposal, I'm happy to look at a new proposal if there's, because it really came down to like, so you're gonna save these people from homelessness and clean up their waste and shovel the snowbanks.
Can I respond to that? These folks have a 3-year contract, which can be voided at any time. We have always said, if they are not meeting the responsibilities that they have contracted to do, it's a business proposal.
Yeah, but also the proposal fell short of what was promised in the short version. When I read through that piece was my take from that. And if there's a new proposal that's more in line with here's what we can do, and actually we've taken out this piece, and if it's just street sanitation and it's something different, then maybe that's a different
It is.
pathway.
We're gonna, like I said, that's kind of why we've summarized the resources that the city has already come forward with that deal with a lot of these issues. I mean, we now have 3 park rangers. We have,
Right.
Heal has a service center, which will hopefully alleviate some of the challenges, and BCAT is on the street as well. Like, that's all kind of solutions that deal with, BCAT and Heal kind of deal with the actual population itself. And what we're targeting in our proposal and in our conversation with Deb and Ann, we agreed that it made sense to submit the proposal with the budget when you see it. And this is just kind of background conversation, bringing everybody up to speed on what's been done in the past, right? I lost my train of thought there. Oh, right. So the social services that are delivered, like the kind of lion's share of those services are really like working with that specific population. But the reality is that specific population impacts all of the other people around them as well. And so our solutions are really targeted to how do we help everybody else deal with the situation while we work to improve the situation for that population. So how do we, I could go on and on about
the other part too that you mentioned is that so as this has been proposed over the years, It's also been proposed along at the same time as things like BCAT, things like the Heal Center, things like,
Downtown landscape.
downtown landscaping and having, and increasing downtown trash pickups, I think is one that we did. I mean, hey, we've done a great job removing the snow from downtown, right? Just have like the least snowy winter on record.
But I mean, can I just even use that as an example? I mean, that is a major win. We're super excited about that being an option. But let me just talk about the difference between like what, you know, what we have on the table.
Let me just, but in lieu of, in a lot of the counselors that did not support this, did support all those other efforts as well. I just want to finish.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sorry, go
But
ahead.
so when you look at the issue of snow removal, so you're right, we didn't have a great year to like try it. But the reality is that you have everybody downtown, kind of this patchwork of solutions for snow removal. And then Public Works came in and they said that they were gonna remove the snow, but they aren't necessarily committed to the level of service, right? That it is 100% going to happen for people. So therefore, everybody who owns property downtown is still maintaining contracts to remove snow. And so what will happen is like either the city will come through and then their contractor will come through after they've just been plowed, or vice versa. And so if we had Street Plus, we could say like, no, you have to clear the sidewalks. You were responsible for clearing the sidewalks, and they would be held accountable for clearing the sidewalks, and they would commit to that level of service. And I think that's what we're asking for here, is that we want to have these services delivered in a way that they actually really work to meet the need, and not kind of like, we'll do it if we can do it, if that makes any sense.
Counselor, hold on a second. Hold on. I'm gonna do Counselor Fish, Counselor Yakubaga, and then,
I was after Counselor Dean.
oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Counselor Leonard, then Counselor.
So sorry, I just wanted to get this out of the way before I forget it, but I'm very reminiscent to, we need to also think about what's happening in the here right now. Just last week, we had a bunch of UMA students and their faculty members coming to us basically saying, we are not doing enough to affect the change necessary in order to make this place, Bangor, feel like a safer community that also is able to compassionately reach out to people that are struggling on the poverty spectrum as well. And we also potentially have an HIV issue going on in the city. And this is something that, to quote one mother who came here Monday night, are we just waiting for a freak accident to occur in order to have something actionable take place? This is something that we could have initiated way earlier on, went through the fine details as to what we need for services, and then we could have executed it. We have an opportunity right now to go forward with some sort of contract negotiation with Street Plus to make sure it is very clear, black and white, what the city is requiring for services regarding the very nature of some of the very clear issues that citizens keep bringing up over and over and over again. I'm tired of hearing citizens telling us that we are not doing enough, because they are right. We are not doing enough. This is one area where we can actually make a difference, but it requires us to do a little bit of homework and to make sure that we're going into this with the most thoughtful ways to mitigate harm, ranging from needle pickup, ranging from coordinating with the Bangor Police Department to make sure that they understand what are Street Plus service options and what is not. We potentially need to talk to the directors of departments to see if there's something that they can coordinate with Street Plus on. But at the end of the day, here is an option. Here is an option for us to actually do something regarding these issues. I'm tired of the city saying, we don't like this option, let's come up with something else. And then we continue to not have other options brought to the table. I'm personally getting very frustrated by this. We keep having the same conversation over and over and over again. And I think it's time that we actually give this some serious thought. That's all I have to say.
Would Street Plus maintain the UMA campus?
If they were contracted to do so. I think that's part of the reason too, when you bring up the issue of like the proposal that we give, is that it's only really partial in some ways because the city has really never come to the table for that part of the conversation. Just as an example, we're getting public restrooms. Street Plus could be contracted to do the public restrooms. There are trash cans downtown. Are we hiring Street Plus to just pick up the trash can, pick up the trash on the ground and put it in a trash can? Are we hiring Street Plus to pick up the trash and bring it to the station? Are we hiring Street Plus to come in and empty all the trash cans and remove the trash from downtown? Like, those are all options, right? And so we have to go to them and say, like, walk around and assume that everything is exactly like it is, and here is what we know is being done right now, and the staff has done a great job of like articulating what those services are that are being done right now, so like this is our understanding of what services are now. So taking all that into consideration, is that all staying the same? What would you layer on top of it? And that's a different conversation than like, what can we do to make this situation better? And so would it help the UMA campus if downtown was taken care of in some other way, and then more resources could be dedicated or from within the city already could be dedicated to UMA? Yeah, that would be helpful. Or would it be helpful to also contract them to do certain things over at UMA campus? I'm sure it probably would be. So, I mean, those are the conversations that could be had. They just haven't been.
Councillor Fish?
It sounds like this hasn't been proposed, or some concept of this idea hasn't been proposed just once. How many times have you come to council with something similar to this?
This is our 4th year.
4th year. Well, I agree with Councillor Leonard. I think we need to do something. You know, we're new. I have to learn a lot about, is there an assessment from Street Plus? Have they come in downtown and made proposals to work with you on the areas of your concern? And we have a budgetary number in mind, do we?
Yeah,
I
and
haven't seen that. I think we did one last year,
Yep.
but I think the issue, it goes to what Betsy was saying, is it was sort of this, these are the things, based on this is what we believe. And so, and at that point, I think it was around $450,000 a year, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep.
So I think the intent tonight was to say, hey, the downtown partnership is still like to pursue this. They'll be working with Street Plus to kind of refine what a final proposal is. We've always been, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think what Betsy's looking, and Eric and the board is looking to do, is to come forward and say, this is what we believe we need, and here is the price, and here are the hours, and here's what they will do. And that will come forward as part of the budget process that we undertake in April.
Yeah. So like we tried to say, you know, again, with that idea of like everything stays the same and we layer on top, we tried to say, look at like, okay, where is there the most safety and security coverage hours wise in downtown? And then, so where do we need it? So if you look at kind of those like night evening hours, we have an incredibly active downtown nightlife. We have lots of bars and restaurants. We have a professional theater. We have venues. Like those are times that can be challenging when bars are closing up and waitresses are leaving with their money in their pocket. They often feel uncomfortable. Like Street Plus can be working during those hours, and you can call and get an escort to your car if you feel unsafe for some reason, or if somebody is pursuing you. We had an instance where there was a downtown business owner who was pursued from her bar to her car, like literally chased by somebody at night and really frightened. You know, so those are the kinds of solutions that they can provide. And so we've looked at targeting those areas. Weekends, there's obviously less coverage. So those night and weekend hours, and then also coming back in the wee hours of the morning, so that we aren't dealing with a reactive solution where somebody's calling and saying, oh, there's all this litter, or there's needles here, or there's somebody camping here, but that it's just a built-in part of the solution that somebody is going through and making sure that everything is ready for people to arrive in the morning.
Councillor Yakubaga, then Councillor Forney.
Thank you. So in the past couple years and a half since I have been on this council, I have always supported this program. I want to acknowledge that the Public Health Department and the Public Works Department have been doing as much as they could with the resources they have. They have tried, they have worked hard on this, but the complaints that we continue to receive from people who visit the downtown area or that this vicinity, I feel like it tells us that the services are not enough. Yes, we have BCAT, they have been doing a good job, but it means there are gaps in services, and I feel this program is the one to address those gaps. actually, if we're gonna promote Bangor as a destination, if we wanna advertise, if we wanna invest, I feel, what are we promoting Bangor for? What are we asking people who are coming from far and beyond to come visit us? What are the attractions if they come to visit and what they see is not what they expected? So, or what we're promoting. So I feel here is an opportunity. I'm aware of our budget issues, but at the same time, I feel we have to take a step forward in this direction. I truly believe this program is gonna fill those gaps. And as Eric mentioned, 3 years contract, they can be terminated if the work is not well done. So that's where I am.
Councilor Fournier?
To say that the city hasn't done stuff. We're doing the BCAT. We're doing, we hired the park ranger. Public Works is doing the extra trash pickup. We've agreed, we're gonna have bathrooms downtown. We're getting there. I mean, it might be baby steps, but we're getting there. And we're using our staff as best as we can to get that job done.
Respectfully, we are acknowledging that. What's BCAT staffing right now?
I think there are 3 out of 4, the fourth one may have come on.
The last time we chatted, it was 1.
Yeah.
And it's been a repeated problem. We're acknowledging that the city is doing things. But it's just not enough right now. It's just not enough.
That's another one. I mean, and also that's another one of my concerns when we talk about staffing. I have a friend who hires for a manual labor, like a blue collar manual labor job. This week, he had 5 people schedule interviews, not one showed
No
up.
one showed up. I get it.
And so that's also another piece that, you know, that makes me.
Counselor, I get it, but the point is, they have a contract. If they don't fulfill the contract, they don't fulfill the contract. I mean, how many of us in here are business people? You don't fulfill a contract with me as a business person, I'm not gonna pay you.
Like you don't pay for hours. I mean, that's
It's,
part of the contract.
we're asking for a very
Like, if they
basic
don't have-
thing, that if they don't provide services, they.
Yeah.
Right?
But also just to the point to say that Council Leonard said the city had done nothing in the last few years. And I
No one's,
take issue
I
with
don't
that.
think he said that, and I don't think anyone said that.
Roll the tape later, but
All right, well,
No, I think the
We're-
city has done a considerable amount. I think there's a lot of resources directed directly at the population who's struggling the most, and that
Let me
makes.
recorrect the record. I might have misspoken, said city council hasn't done anything. Thank you.
city council has put forward, BCAT has put forward, HEAL has put forward, bathrooms has put forward many things. Adding extra sidewalk snowplows. So we have done things. They are not glamorous. They are not in a package with a pretty brochure. I mean, I would entertain if they have a new proposal that isn't as magical unicorn as the last one was, then I would entertain looking at it if you.
It'll be submitted, yeah, it's gonna be submitted.
It's gonna
with the
come
budget.
forward as part of the budget. This was just sort of a primer, a reminder of where we've been. The ask was gonna come back. We thought it was helpful to come back to the committee, have the conversation in advance of.
No, I think that's great. And I
Yeah.
think that it's good to have that in advance of the committee to know what our hesitations are and what our concerns are on this side for those of us that have been
Yes.
hesitant for this over the past several years and redirected that money into city resources.
And I just want to say that these are not new problems for Bangor, but newer problems for Bangor. But these are not new problems in general. That these are problems that have existed in urban environments for a really long time. And that's why companies like Street Plus, there's others, Block by Block is another really big one that does it. They have been working on this for a really long time and they're not, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel. If we wanted to build a new bridge in Bangor, we wouldn't try to have our engineers figure it out and put it together, even though they're probably completely smart and capable and could make it happen. We go out and we find somebody who's built bridges before and we bring that in. And that's kind of what I'm asking for here is I'm saying we are not necessarily experienced in managing urban environments in this way with populations of this size. engaging in the kinds of behaviors that we're seeing today. This company has been doing it for 30 years in over 100 communities and has continued to grow, continued to add community. Almost every community that works with them continues to expand the services that they're using them for. So they clearly know what they're doing. So it isn't that we can't figure it out. I mean, I think that's one of the most wonderful things about like the main spirit and people from Bangor is that you have this desire to figure it out and make things work. That's awesome. But sometimes you just have to call in an expert and say, you've been doing this, you know what you're doing, like, come do this thing and we can learn from you.
Counselor Campbell?
Yeah, what I would say, I mean, I think when we looked at this a year ago, obviously, I think that proposal had the ambassadors in it and it had some needle cleanup and proposals. So that at that time, we were adding those. So I think my position at that time was, let's see how this goes and let's hold off. I agree. I mean, downtown's not where we want it to be. And when you come to a city, I think the downtown is representative of visitors about the city. So I think we've got a ways to go on making downtown what we'd like it to be. That being said, it's a budget issue as well. I think as we move forward and you come back at the budget time, I'd like to see a little more creativity. I mean, in the past, I've always said, okay, if it's 250, what's gonna go away that we put into, we've always had a dedicated public works person going around downtown. So if that person is $60,000, it sounds like that person wouldn't be needed if you get these people going around doing cleaning. So don't we have the person still with the
Yeah.
push cart downtown?
We do, but I would also say that I think what Betsy's talking about is, as we continue to implement additional resources downtown, is perhaps what comes back as a proposal from Street Plus isn't all of that all encompassing, is that it's more targeted
Right,
to
so I'm
sort
saying,
of
as
the
we look
gap.
at things as something.
Right, but
And
I-
also as a part of the creativity of budgeting,
Yeah,
maybe the assessment has to go up and the DVP has to maybe contribute some
we
financial.
perhaps have already had this conversation.
Yeah.
That's part of it too. It's in
And
there. It's in
I
there.
pay your downtown assessment, I'd be
Yeah.
glad to pay a little more, so.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
most people have said that they are, I mean, obviously, not universally, everybody is like happy to participate in pay, but we hear that a lot. I mean, like,
I
I have
don't pay
somebody.
much, so I'm glad to do.
Yeah, that's- like, somebody's like, the amount I pay is like so insulting, you could triple it and I wouldn't even notice, and I was like, okay, it's coming at you. but
That's
not really.
that's gonna be my next question, actually,
Right.
which brings it back to A on this, is that does the special assessment
Yes.
district change the numbers
Yes.
for the contribution that it would not impact the residential, I mean, the whole big thing last year is that household taxes went higher than retail, but commercial, yes, thank you, hunting for the word. So if that assessment redistricting helps increase the amount of money that district is raising for itself, if that district has more skin in the game, then I'm also more
Right.
amenable to
And
that.
that is the proposal that we're talking
Yeah.
about, is we've been very clear that whatever the final proposal looks like, is that it has to be an ask. There wants to be an ask of the city, it needs to be well-defined what the services are, what the level of service are, the hours of service and everything. I think that's where we've gotten bogged down in the
Yes.
past. And we also made the suggestion that there ought to be funding coming from the downtown partnership to support that.
Yeah.
That it isn't just a city taxpayer
Yes,
issue.
right, any other, do we,
Although, just to be clear though, let's all remember that this is 99% dealing with public space, right? Like, so when it comes, like, it is a tax issue, then our parks are public spaces and need to be maintained. But to be fair, yes, like, of course, the Downtown Bangor Partnership expects to be a partner.
any other comments or questions about anything on the update? Do we need a motion on any of this, or is it
Nope.
just informational?
Just information.
Also too, as always, I brought, and it was great, Deb queued it up for us, like I brought. Patience, like, 'cause I did, in the updated materials that you all probably received, like, I did itemize some of these things in there, and like, this is our Visit Downtown Guide. We distributed 7,000 of them last year between May and December and ran out. We're constantly told that they're, like, the airport, they're the number one picked up item there. And then we have our brochure that we do another 10,000 of. We're partnering with the Bar Harbor Chamber so that we get MDI coverage, and we're upping our production to 10,000 this year. They're in the rest areas all along the interstate. I brought them in case anybody wants them, but.
So I just have one final question for you. So, it was 50 degrees today and everybody was outside walking. So what is the next event that we should have on our calendars for Downtown Bangor Partnership?
The big dig.
Well, yes, there's the big thing, there's all the big stuff, but we've got, St. Patrick's Day is always really big downtown. Cinco de Mayo, we do like big collaborative bar crawl things, but outside of bar crawl things, we've got the big dig and spring cleanup coming up, and then
Main
sidewalk art
Science
festival, the Main
Yeah.
Science Festival in March, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot on the
So
calendar.
we gotta
People-
pitch the good things too.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. People's minds are turning to spring. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Scary, but amazing.
No blanket, right?
I
Right,
got one
thank
weekend
you.
of ice skating.
Of course,
Thank you
of
all.
course, I'll steal these. I
Yeah,
need them for the upfront.
okay.
All right, so our last item is the staff update on Merida Annual Forecast Conference and Member Showcase.
Yes, Merida stands for Maine Real Estate Development Association. The city's been very active in Merida for years. I've gone to Merida, for years as well. It's a great organization and every year they do, an annual meeting. And, we had a booth, we were one of the sponsors and, so we all made some good connections with people. We brought our business development specialist, Brad Wall, with us, our planning officer, Anya Collette, and our code enforcement officer, Jeff Wallace. It's always good for all the staff members to kind of see things from the developer standpoint, like how do they make decisions about development? So, it's really good for, planning and code to get that perspective as well as the economic development, business development piece. What we heard is the things that we've been hearing a lot in Bangor, all conversations end up at housing, and all conversations end up with construction costs. That's a part of a national issue, but definitely, throughout, the region, every, regional check-in was always talking about construction costs and their effect on choices in development, choices in the investments that are and loans that are being made for new construction. Construction costs have really had an effect on that. The good news was hearing about Bangor. It's kind of fun to go to an event where somebody else is talking about Bangor. And it was all good things. It was all about our low vacancy rates in downtown and our office and our retail. So, we are seen as sort of that bright star in the state. So it was really nice to hear that. So I was really glad I went.
Excellent. Any questions, comments on that? Councilor Forney?
Historically, Bangor's had a speaker there.
Yeah, Bev was, yeah,
And Beth did.
yeah, she did it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Well, set. All right, that comes to the end of the agenda. So the meeting is adjourned. Stay tuned for GovOps.
Thank you.